take care of you.
And we're live. Hello. Hi. Welcome to your Onion podcast. No, we've just been chatting and then suddenly, yes.
It's a new podcast.
Welcome, Anne.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to the show. Thank you. We have a very special guest. Yes. I say that always, but we have a very special guest.
Yes.
Her name is Lisa. Is it Saad?
It is Saad. Yes.
Saad.
We didn't confirm that before the...
Oh, Saad.
Fake grass?
Fake grass.
Oh.
Occasionally called sod.
Oh, really?
I didn't know.
No, I didn't know that.
No. Cool.
Anyway, Lisa...
There you go. My work here is done.
No.
Nice try. She keeps on
try.
trying to escape.
Yay!
So, Lisa, the first thing that we do, this is season 3. This is episode 2, by the way.
Yes.
Okay.
You're our second guest on season 3.
Mm-hmm.
And our new format is basically if we met you in a lift.
Oh.
And you would have to give us a 15-second elevator pitch. Now, Anne's going to realise that she hasn't got a timer ready.
Yes, I do.
Do you?
Yes, but we don't have any...
No, we don't. But you can put the alarm. You can set it for 15 seconds.
No, I can just like...
Yeah, okay.
15 seconds.
15 seconds to give us
That's fast.
an elevator pitch on who you are and what you do.
On who I am and what I do. Well,
Yeah.
hello.
Oh, hold on.
Wait. We need to...
Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Okay.
Go.
Hello, my name is Lisa Saad. I'm the Executive Director of the American Chamber of Commerce here in Qatar. I've held this position for a little over 2 years, and I've lived in Qatar since November of 2016.
Superb.
Is that not enough?
No, it's perfect because...
How long was that?
No, it's 12 seconds.
Yeah.
12 seconds?
Yeah,
so
perfect.
that was only
Good
3
job.
seconds
You did,
short.
great.
Because if I launched into another sentence, I would have gone over.
No, that's right. But it's
So-
funny, our previous guest, he did it for about 8 seconds, didn't he?
Yeah.
He literally said his name and, he was an adventurer, climber, and that was it. It was just like, well, what more do we need to know?
Right.
Nothing. Bye-bye.
That's perfect.
But you stay. Stay with us.
So, my first question...
Okay.
Well, no, my first question is...
By the way, we should tell the audience that these questions were not provided to me ahead of time.
Never. No,
So-
that's the beauty of this
This
podcast.
is all off the cuff.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay.
So, my first question, and we had a meeting just before this podcast, me and Anne, and we were just curious about potatoes.
Yeah.
What was it
Oh,
like
yes.
traveling around Asia, preaching about potatoes?
That is so
Right,
cool.
right.
American.
That
potatoes.
from everything that you've done, that was the first thing that we thought.
Yeah, both of us
we
were
had
like,
to know.
wow.
Right. So my career path has been a little bit of a zigzag. So there has not been any type of straight line. And while I was living in Denver, Colorado, I was working for a company called PenCom International. And we were a training development company. And we primarily worked with the hospitality industry. So restaurants, hotels, things in that kind of business sector. But we had a unique client come to us, which was the United States Potato Board, which oddly enough is based in Denver, Colorado, not in Idaho, which some people might think. But they came to us because they wanted some marketing materials put together. And at the time, I was teaching interactive workshops on various different topics, marketing being one of them. So they approached us to do some color flyers and brochures, things of that nature. And then they decided that they wanted to take that information and create an interactive marketing workshop out of it. And one of the individuals oversaw the whole Southeast Asian market. And so we created a half-day-long marketing workshop focused on the quality, value, and versatility of U.S. potatoes in the Asian market.
Wow.
And we traveled on this road show about every year. We would go, and I did that for 3 years, and we would go to, Malaysia and Thailand and the Philippines, and we would do this interactive workshop. So,
And what was
cool.
the reaction of about the American potato? How was it received in...
Did you have samples with you?
yes, so yes and yes. We had samples, so it was very interesting. Most of the time, the audience profile were restaurant owners that were already using potatoes in some form or fashion in their restaurants. So it was well received in the aspect that, we gave menu items, we gave, how you can substitute different potato products for rice. They had some potato manufacturers, I guess you would say, like Ore-Ida, that would do samples. So they would have, we would do quality, value, and versatility from a whole potato to a crinkle cut potato to a tater tot. So, and then afterwards there would be a sampling potato buffet, if you will, and some type of social event, and then off we were to the next country. So,
okay, so give us an interesting fact about potato that our viewers might not know about the humble potato, American humble potato.
Right. So Idaho potatoes are is not a type of potato. So Idaho has just done a very good job of marketing potatoes in that state. So they are actually, the potatoes that you think are Idaho potatoes are actually russet potatoes. They're called russet potatoes. And they're grown all across the United States, as well as in Ireland and many other parts of the world. So, yeah. So
that was a fun fact.
Fun fact.
And how many types of potatoes are there in the world?
Oh my goodness, I can't even begin to imagine.
Really? I always thought there was just... I didn't realize there were so many different types.
Yeah, well, I mean, off the top of my head, I can tell you that there's the russet potato, which is typically used for baked potatoes.
Oh, really?
There are sweet potatoes, which are typically white, I believe, and yams, which are in the sweet potato family, which are the orange ones that you see on Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
they're typically pretty large.
Yeah.
And you have a red potato, you have a yellow potato, you have what they call a new potato, which is, I think, smaller type of version of a potato. I don't know.
So but I'm getting so curious because the potato board, are you a part of that?
No. So that is a government branch.
And their objective is basically to get the word out there
commodities,
about...
It's cool.
Potatoes.
Wow. Who knew?
Who knew? What a great backstory.
Yeah, I did not know. It seems like a fake job. Like, people ask me, like, really? That's a job? And I'm like, yeah, that's a job. Some countries we did simultaneous translation, which was extremely interesting. I was sharing a story with someone actually just yesterday. I was in a country and I'm teaching this interactive workshop, right? So we have 10 different points that we're making, and each point along the way we have an activity that the audience does, and then they come back and they share information with me, and we kind of do a back and forth. And while using simultaneous translation makes it very interesting because unfortunately English is the only language I'm fluent in. And we got to about the halfway mark and we were breaking for lunch, and I said, well, I had a beautiful flip chart and said, here are these 5 points that we've gone through. We're going to break for lunch, and then we'll come back and we'll relate how they all fit together into the big picture. And all of a sudden everybody looked down at their manuals and they were furiously flipping through, and I'm looking at the lady next to me saying, what's happening? Like, it was just like a sudden uproar. And finally, they stopped, and one of them raised their hands, and I said, well, yes, what can I do?
Yeah.
And they said, we can't find the big picture. And I was like, I had done so good up to that point, facilitating, not using analogies or anything of that nature. And then all of a sudden just kind of hit a big hiccup there with the whole analogy to the big picture. But yeah, an interesting.
But it must have been so cool to see so many different countries and be on that roadshow.
Absolutely. So many different countries, meeting so many interesting people, and learning a little bit more about how different countries look at marketing in general. I mean, people don't tackle it like they do in the United States, with furious plans and everything else.
So it was like a learning curve for you as well. And did you adjust the whole marketing of that course?
Of course. Yeah. As we went to each country, and as we, obviously the things that we talked about in terms of versatility in Kuala Lumpur were very different than the ones we talked about in, say, Mexico City. So yeah, we kind of took it all over. But
how do you do that? Because, you've got your training plan.
Right.
Then you go to a country, or do you do some research before you go to that country?
Tons of research before you go to the country. Sure. Okay. Yeah. Talking to different chefs, researching different menus, looking at the menus of the audience, the people that are going to be in the audience, because obviously we knew ahead of time who was coming. They were specially invited, and so looking at all of those different elements to learn as much as you can about the people that are going to be in your audience in order to keep them engaged.
That's just reminded me, there's a fantastic Netflix show called Taste. Have you seen it?
I have not seen it.
No, me neither.
It's amazing. It just focuses around the world on different people and their history, running their own kind of small business. And it can be from the street vendor through to a big restaurant, and just the history. And they just go back into their backstory.
Cool.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
And they do it in their own language, so it's most of the time it's subtitled.
Oh, interesting. Called Taste.
Yes, I think it's called Taste.
My nephew just turned me on to The Final Table, which is a cooking competition show that's on Netflix. They're trying to do
a bit like
the TV and Food Network.
All right, okay.
But yeah, so they have chefs from all around the world, and the chefs travel to each country, and they have to cook a themed dish from that country.
Oh,
Like
superb.
Master Chef, a la different
It's-
words.
Different worlds.
But you hear about all the
countries.
background of the chefs and where they
That
came
is
from
cool.
in their country, and what
Nice.
kind of food they cook and what they're passionate about. So yeah, it's
Oh,
interesting.
food is fascinating. And that just reminds me, if you're listening to this podcast, we're doing from business lunch review, we're going to food review.
Reviews.
Because we got a bit bored with the whole business lunch, so we thought we'd expand it.
Yeah, we need to do more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
And Lisa.
And we found out that Lisa is a food expert.
Yeah.
So
Well, I like to
here's-
eat, that's for sure.
here's the two of us that are just like, well,
I like
looks
this.
good, like it. Well, you like everything, but and now you're on the keto diet. You're going to be very limited to what you
No, but that will be interesting for the menu.
That's true.
So I can say, I just had,
Yeah, okay. But Lisa will go into it more technically.
Yeah, because before we talked about it, and you were like, this sauce was a bit more. It was a bit much floury.
Too much flour.
And
Too much
we
flour.
would
Yeah,
never
we'd
even.
never know.
We
We just
would
say,
never-
oh, it's a bit dry.
It's your
Yeah.
favorite.
It doesn't taste good.
No, it
Yeah.
doesn't taste good. It's not smooth.
It's a bit dry.
Absolutely. So I'm curious, Lisa, have you always been into training? Because if you look at your LinkedIn profile, it doesn't matter what kind of company you've worked for, but training seems to be, the common thread with all of these positions.
Definitely. A lot of my background is in training. So
Yeah.
I've run training departments, developed training manuals, franchise universities, things of that nature for multiple different brands. I moved a little bit more into operations, marketing, etc. with a restaurant concept that I joined in Denver. We grew from 3 locations to 54.
Wow.
And at the time there was 2 chefs, a CEO, and then myself and one other person. So we kind of drove the whole marketing kind of initiative, operations initiative, franchise support. We were a franchise organization. We had 3 corporate locations, the rest being franchise, and it grew in both directions over the course of that career. But at that point, I kind of took a little bit of a turn out of training for a while. And then after leaving that company, I went and worked for a consulting company, which took me definitely out of that realm and provided me the opportunity to work with a lot of different business models. So that company was primarily serviced people that were looking to franchise their business. So if you're an independent business owner, you had proof of concept and you were looking to franchise, or you were currently franchising, just not finding your way, you would come to us. And it was founded by a lady that used to be in franchising. Her and her husband built up to 125 locations, called Handyman Matters in the US. And so it was something that she always said, gosh, if I knew then what I know now, how great would that be? So she put together a team of experts, and I primarily focused on strategic planning, operations manuals, systems and processes, training programs, things of that nature, to help people really establish those rules and regulations that you need to have a franchise.
Yeah.
Because we all know if you go to Anne's Restaurant XYZ and then you go to Stefan's Restaurant XYZ, you want the same experience.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
want the same food, you
Yeah.
want it to look
Yeah.
the same, you want to be treated the same. And without those systems and processes in place, things very quickly, people form opinions, and then all of a sudden
Oh, absolutely,
everything
you got
goes
bad
off the
name.
rails.
Yeah.
So
True.
with the whole franchise thing, do you does the company go in and break the whole thing down to, you know, I was going to say how you brush your teeth, but how you do everything from when you first walk through the door to when you leave at night? That everything is documented, and then you break it down even more to
checklists,
absolutely,
training videos, or you know, however you want to slice and dice it after that. But it's everything starting. In the U.S., we're very regulated, so everything starting from a franchise agreement down to an operations manual, what the franchisor is responsible for, what the franchisee is responsible for, and then anything that goes under protecting those brand standards. So,
because have you seen another Netflix? I'm promoting Netflix. I'm not sponsored by Netflix.
Oh, you know?
No, it's
you're
just that
addicted.
I'm not addicted. It's you know, now and again I watch it. But the McDonald's story.
I have not watched.
I have not done that.
What?
I haven't watched the documentary, but I've read the book.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
How he was literally. So he signed an agreement with these two guys that started McDonald's, and he saw the concept as, you know, fantastic. I'm gonna sell the concept. I'm gonna get people to buy into this as a franchise. They had no experience, and literally he was nearly broke. And then someone overheard him in the bank and basically said, "You know what? You know, this is where you can make money." And he basically said, "It's not the actual brand; it's the property. You know, you buy the land, and then, you know, you put the franchise on top of that. So you know, they're always paying you rent." So that was how.
Smart.
And he made his millions. Anyway, so there you go. So I'm curious, what did you study? Did you know what you wanted to be when you grew up? You know, when you left college and university? No?
Absolutely not. So both of my parents are educators. And I went into university. I think I changed my major 3 or 4 times.
Really?
And finally kind of got to the, you know, the last year and went in and said, I have to leave here now. Here's all the classes that I have taken.
Wow.
Tell me how I can get out. And they said, you can be done in, you know, 2 semesters with a child development degree.
Wow.
So I have a bachelor's degree in human resources and family science.
Nice.
Is the official title.
Okay.
So,
and have you ever used that in your, you know, training? And
I train adults,
yes,
but oddly enough, it is not
it's
much
similar.
different.
No, exactly. We're just big kids.
Yes. So
maybe you had fun in school.
Yeah. I had a great time. And then I went on and took some master's classes when I was in Denver at the University of Denver in adult learning theory. And so you look at that and then I have to laugh and say, even though I have a degree in child development, there isn't a lot of difference between adult learning theory and how you manage a room full of 5-year-olds.
No.
You know,
because we are
not
just
to make
humans.
light of it, but yes, I mean, pushing things from short-term memory to long-term memory, your techniques are technically the same.
Interesting.
So. Very interesting. So, your current position, how did you
curious.
did you end up working for the chamber?
What brought you here?
Right. So I came to Doha with my husband. So he's the one that landed us over here. Our first expat experience, even though we've both worked quite a bit overseas. We came from Denver, Colorado, and he was offered a secondment position here in Doha. And I had actually been here about 5 years before, looking at distribution channels for a franchise that I was looking to open here in Doha. So I had visited the region, and when I left here, truth be told, I never thought that I would be back. Certainly not to live. If you would have asked me at that point, I would have thought you were crazy.
And what year was that?
When
you first
visiting.
came? Yeah, when you visited.
I believe it would have been about 2014.
Okay.
2013, somewhere around in there. So about 3 years prior to us making the move.
Wow.
And yes, so we decided we were both very interested in taking, you know, a trip overseas to live. A trip, I say. That maybe wasn't the right word.
No.
But anyway, taking the adventure to live overseas. And so I was working with this consulting company and had the opportunity to move into a telecommuting role with them. So because pretty much after the initial meetings, and we did a lot of video conferencing, and they were really set up for telecommuters, which was great. So I was able to move into that type of position. So I held that position for a while when we came over. But leaving a career, and I have no pets, and I have no kids, and I have no plants, so it's a lonely existence without something to keep me busy.
Yeah.
So I have a sprinkling of OCD. So in planning for the trip, I was doing all of my research on, what am I going to do? How am I going to keep myself busy? What organizations are there that I can go network at? And by the time we landed in Doha, I had a full schedule of events on my calendar. Wow. So I have never been one to kind of sit behind a desk and armchair quarterback trying to find a job. The whole concept of just blanketing out resumes without ever seeing a face or shaking a hand. I just don't find a lot of success in that. I find a lot more success in getting in front of people and telling my story, if you will. Yeah. So I had networking business cards printed up, and I had everything in hand, and I went marching out into Doha to see what kind of waves I could make. And my first stop was the American Chamber of Commerce. Because
that was your first stop?
Yeah.
No. Wow.
Because I thought, what a better way to meet a bunch of business people, And so any events that they had where I could attend as a non-member and kind of get my feet wet and get my spiel down. And I met Teresa Backus-Dunn, who is the current executive director. And after our third or fourth meeting, she said, oddly enough, I'm getting ready to repatriate back to the U.S., so I'd encourage you to send in your CV. And so I did. And after 5 interviews. 5 interviews.
Wow.
And the process took a long time. It took about 3 months.
Wow.
And finally was awarded the position in March of 2017.
No, well, congratulations.
So here I am.
Yeah.
That is amazing. And that was your first meeting.
Yeah.
Can you believe it?
So, and I went, I thought all the business councils, QPWN, the American Women's Association, anyone that had a website or a Facebook page that I could find a calendar, I started networking at. So,
smart.
Yeah.
And how's that journey been?
It's been great.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's been great. We have a small staff, so it's just myself and one other person. And the last 2 years, we've hosted 27 events a year.
You've been very proactive. Busy. I haven't seen the American Chamber really proactive since you started, I think.
Well, thank you.
I don't think they weren't very visual on social media or anything like that, or events.
Right.
So, how long have they been going here in Qatar?
2010.
Okay.
2010, yeah. So.
Well done, you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, but really.
And how many members have you got?
As of today, we have 89.
Okay.
So, and we count our members by companies. So people use a lot of different statistics, but we have 89 companies represented. We have 3 different levels of membership. We have our individual members must be U.S. passport holders.
Okay.
So they're really meant for U.S. citizens that are working or living in Doha that want to engage with the business community. And then we have our corporate membership, our company membership level, which is the majority of our members, and then we have our chairman circle members, which are a top echelon, and most of them sit on our board of governors. So if you're looking to have a say in the strategic direction of the company, the chairman circle level member is really the differentiator.
So you're telling us that there's 89 American companies working here in Qatar, or are there more?
No, I have 89 members that are part of the American Chamber of Commerce.
Any company can come.
Yes. So it goes through a board approval process.
Right.
But currently right now we're about split 50-50. And the way we identify a U.S. company is if your home office or your mothership or your founder was in the United States, then we consider you a U.S. company. Or if you do a high level of business in the U.S., then you're considered a U.S. company from our perspective.
Cool.
So different people have statistics different ways and identify companies different ways in terms of being American, but we don't look at what nationality the CEO is. We look at the business.
But I was thinking the chamber as is it owned by the US, or is it? How is your ownership?
Right.
No, isn't it associated with the embassy?
It's not. So that's a great question.
Ah.
So In the U.S., it's interesting because whereas we portray to the world that we're all family and we're all one big happy group, we are a little bit separated.
Okay.
So we are classified as a private institute for public benefit. That's our registration here in Qatar. And we have no government affiliation whatsoever. So we operate solely independently. In the U.S., it would be the same as a nonprofit.
Yeah.
So we run solely off of membership dues. We do not receive money or funding from either government, and I report directly to a board of directors that is nominated by the membership itself.
And your objective is being, when you're here in Qatar, to just promote businesses
Yes.
and, you know, businesses from America.
Yeah.
Engage the private sector.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So it's a little bit different than some of the other business councils or other chambers in town in the aspect that we don't work underneath the embassy. We collaborate very closely with our commercial department, and they are an amazing team. We also do not work underneath the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, but we collaborate very closely with Kushchansky. Sorry, his name is hard to pronounce.
Very hard.
And their division out of DC. And then we also collaborate very closely with the U.S. Qatar Business Council, which is also in DC. So to use an analogy, we're four different pillars.
Yeah.
We collaborate closely together, kind of like the four legs of a chair.
Yeah.
But we all do something slightly different.
Yeah, and all is
So there's a U.S. Chamber of Commerce.
So yes, there's a U.S. Chamber of Commerce that kind of has a
in America.
worldwide, based in D.C.
Yeah.
Okay.
Based in Washington, D.C.
Right.
Yes.
Interesting.
So the U.S. Chamber of Commerce based in D.C. and the U.S. Qatar Business Council also based in D.C.
Oh.
And the U.S. Qatar Business Council was founded by the father Amir. So their relationship is a little bit different.
Yeah.
And then you have the commercial department of the U.S. Embassy here in Doha, and then the American Chamber of Commerce that I run here in Doha. So we have kind of two in Doha, two in DC, and really they take on some of the roles that some of the other chambers or business councils may have talked about. So, for example, trade delegations. We support that from a social aspect, from a networking aspect. We'll host events when there's delegations coming to Doha, but we don't put together delegations to bring from the U.S., nor do we put together delegations to send from Qatar backwards.
Okay.
That really focuses more on the other three legs of the stool.
Smart.
What about market research? You know, if a US company wants to come into Qatar, do they contact you guys and then you charge them for your service of finding out, you know, what companies to link to or finding a sponsor and stuff like that? Is that part of your...
No, I make absolute fabulous introductions to our commercial department at the U.S. Embassy, and I also direct them to the resources page of our website to our members that will help them find sponsors, such as Fusion Middle East, and we have some law firms that are part of our membership, Squire Patton Boggs, if you're looking at going down that direction as a chairman circle member.
So you just point them in the right direction. And,
I can connect you with somebody that will help you do that, but as a staff of two, that's not really our focus currently right now. So.
Right. And with your network events, do you invite people from outside the chamber that aren't members?
For some of our events, we have the opportunity for non-members to attend for a fee. And most of our events are in 2-hour time slots. So there's a half an hour of networking at the beginning, and then there's an hour presentation with Q&A, and then there's a half an hour of networking at the back end. So it provides people with the opportunity. We have some type of food, usually a light breakfast or canapes, depending upon the time of day. And everyone is seated at round tables, so it gives them the opportunity to interact and really engage. We do have some social events throughout the year, but that's not our main focus. We're really trying to create a thought leadership platform, so we bring in subject matter experts for our Distinguished Speaking Series. We have panel presentations. We work with our other 3 groups to hold roundtable discussions. So recently we had the U.S. Chamber of Commerce out of D.C. here wanting to talk about the procurement process and wanting to get feedback from the private sector on how the process could be streamlined so that they can work with their Qatari counterparts to make recommendations, etc. So we try and really angle ourselves towards that aspect. even though we do like to have fun as well.
Of
Yeah,
course.
of course.
And I love your events. They are very good.
Yes, you do.
I do.
You seem to be going to them quite often.
I do.
Yeah,
It is part of my job.
absolutely. How do people get in contact with you? What forms of communications can they get in contact with you?
The easiest way is just to go to our website.
Yeah.
So we
So
do
what's your
have a
website?
Facebook page that you can go to as well, but our website at amchamqatar.org has contact information for both myself and Karen Serrano, which is my assistant. Email addresses, our office phone number, so people can get in contact with us that way if they choose. And there's a ton of information on the website about membership, events, resources, etc.
Great.
Yeah.
Right, we're coming to the end of the show, and we have a quick fire questions.
Quick 5 questions.
Yeah, quick
Is
fire.
it a rapid
quick fire.
fire?
Quick fire. Rapid fire.
Rapid fire.
So, what's your
Yes.
favourite book?
My favorite book. Oh my goodness, that is really difficult because I'm obsessive. I'm an obsessive reader.
Oh, really?
So I've read probably 4 books in the last 2 weeks.
Wow.
So to find a favorite,
How
I
can you
think
do
is
that?
really, really hard. But
One
my
that stands out.
long-term favorite
Yeah.
from when I was a little girl
Yeah.
was The Sneetches by Dr. Seuss. So my mom still can recite the entire
You're a fan,
book
aren't
by
you?
heart.
Yeah.
So yes. So
I have
Okay.
some pajamas, Dr. Seuss. I will show you pictures.
they're the
Not now.
Starbilly
We'll put them out.
Ah,
We'll put them out on
out.
social media.
Yes,
You
yes.
generally have various pajamas that
That's it.
you
I
put
do.
up on
I
social
know
media.
I
Not that I
probably-
know, but she could
I
say.
probably should have said something by Stephen Covey or something business related.
No,
and
not at
jumped
all, no,
Right to the
that's,
Starbelly Sneetches, but hey.
Okay,
this is a
favourite
fun podcast.
Favourite film?
Favorite film, Dirty Dancing.
Oh, really?
Yes, I
love
Patrick
it.
Swayze.
I cry
Oh, Patrick
every time
Swayze.
I see
He's
it.
not.
He's not around
is he
anymore.
anymore?
No,
No.
sadly.
Okay, favourite place in Qatar.
Favorite place in Qatar? Well, I love Spice Market.
Ah, yes,
I
we
do.
were talking about
I
that
do.
before.
I love their sushi business lunch. It's my favorite sushi business lunch in town. So
I'm gonna try that.
Okay,
together.
favourite food then. Leading on.
cheese.
Really?
Yes.
Grilled
I love a good grilled cheese.
I know.
I do.
Grilled cheese. What? It
Yes.
can be any cheese, but it has
Halloumi?
it just
but,
grilled.
but I like the grilled cheese like with the thick bread and it's actually grilled on like a flat top griddle, so that it's toasted on the outside and the melty cheese on the inside.
Ah.
And anything on top, like a sauce, like ketchup or
No,
nothing?
lemon.
Just
no,
plain?
Just but you can do so much with the grilled cheese. So you can have the really thick
dear.
sourdough
I'm
bread
sure you can.
with the butter and do a little bit of arugula,
All right.
maybe a little sauteed mushrooms with some Gouda,
Oh dear, I
I'm
can see how
getting
this food review is
And
going to
you
go,
like,
can't
you
you?
go
Oh,
like this,
I'm
and
We're
the
going to
cheese
lose
just
Lisa into
streams
this
in.
whole food review.
I love you. Oh,
Yes.
it's gonna be so great.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Lisa.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I
you.
appreciate
It's
your
been
time
great
today.
having you on
Thank
board.
you very
Super
much
fun.
out there, all you listeners.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you for
you.
watching. Thank you for listening. And we'll catch up with you next week. And remember, tune into all our other podcasts. We have Die Heat and In the Game, which is our new sports podcast. Check that
Yes.
out. All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Take care of you.